Hey, what to do, y'all? What to do? In this particular video, I kind of want to shut down some stereotypes about the feminine gender. Just in regards to this idea of her being chaos versus the man representing order, you know what I'm saying? But yes, that is still true that amongst the feminine, she represents darkness and chaos. But it's not necessarily from a bad standpoint. You know, it just depends on the level of the darkness and the chaos that could represent a bad aspect of the feminine gender. You know, because with the masculine, the man, he represents order and he represents the light, and he should be delightful. And with the feminine that represents the woman, she represents chaos and she represents the darkness. They say also amongst the feminine and the masculine represents the known and the feminine represents the unknown. But here's where it gets really good, ladies and gentlemen. You know, when you go to bed usually at nighttime. So the dark can sometimes mean rest. So it's not a bad thing about the darkness at times. Darkness sometimes means rest. It doesn't necessarily mean negativity, badness, you know? I mean, it's just this idea that, you know, too much of the dark isn't good for you, and too much of the light can sometimes not be good for you either. You know, now, of course, the light represents the full embodiment of existence upon this planet. So one way or another, you're going to have light in many different forms. Even as you see me rolling right now, after a long day of work, it's nighttime, but there are street lights because it's kind of hard to see in pure darkness. So there's always going to be a form of light around, whether natural or artificial. But the point is, light is light. But in essence of dark, you know, dark doesn't necessarily exist in the same form in the midst of light. It exists in the form of a shadow, okay? But with that said, the darkness can, even when you think about the shadow, sometimes it represents a good reference point so that you can know what time of the day it is. That's how they made the first clocks. They used the shadows during the daytime. So, yes, ladies, if you got anything from this video, mainly the esoterics to this video, your darkness can be used for good. It can be. Darkness can represent the time to rest, and it can represent a shadow in a day so that you can know where you sit at with time, you know. Sometimes one needs to be reminded what time of the day it is, or, you know, maybe there's a time for this, maybe it's time for that, you know, reminders. Ladies, become good reminders to a man that's in your life. Remind him of things. Now, this idea of resting, be restful with him, you know. Be calm. You know, at night, you don't hear a lot of animals. You don't hear a lot of traffic unless you're in a city that doesn't sleep. They're just living in a natural existence. So we're not talking about those cities. We're just talking about ideal situations. So usually at night, you don't hear things that much. You don't hear a lot of animals. You don't hear a lot of cars. You don't hear a lot of airplanes. You don't hear a lot of ships and trains, etc. So, ladies, your darkness could be a sense of calm. You know, the way you talk in the morning, be calm. Remember, if you've been checking out my videos about being a twilight, well, the twilight is in the midst of the daytime and the nighttime. You're the twinkle of the light in the midst of that. So you're reflecting a man, you know, you're the reflection of his light. You can be something very calm to him when it's dark outside. But let's say if it's during the darkness of life, you know, some of the tough times, well, you can be his twilight in the midst of that. Remind him of the light that's in him. You share that delight amongst him. Delight, light, get it? So there's a lot of beauty that can be in regards to the darkness of the feminine in a good way, not a bad way.